Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about bored out, which is something new, I know, but I've experienced it. I've experienced it all. I've experienced burnout, I've experienced bored out, I've experienced sadness and fear. I categorize the two separately. I don't use anxiety and depression because my feelings, even in terms of bored out, burnout, they're not affecting my daily functioning of life. So keep that in mind, that these issues are easily resolvable for me, but if it's affecting your social skills, if it's affecting your work or your school, make sure that you reach out to your provider for sure and get some help to make life a little bit easier. So let's dive in. Burnout is when you're overstimulated and there's so much work to do. I've experienced burnout a lot in college, especially when I was doing my clinicals, because I had school, I had my musical ensembles, and then I had my clinical experience, which was so new and something I wasn't prepared for as a 19-year-old. And then bored out is something that I've experienced several times actually in school and in certain work positions, and that's when you're understimulated. So there's not that much going on. And let me tell you that working for me, you have to keep in mind that I'm working on my master's, but I don't have it yet. So I have a bachelor's, and there's a difference between having a bachelor's in healthcare versus a PhD. When you have a PhD, and let's pretend that you're a primary investigator, you have a load of responsibilities, and they're very important responsibilities, versus if you're a research assistant, you have a load of responsibilities too, but are they really responsibilities, or are they like checking patients in? Are they documenting? Even if I worked as a research assistant performing exams and tests and running models, how much could I possibly do before I get bored? If you know what I'm saying. So a lot of jobs that I've had so far, I've experienced bored out. And initially, you, I guess, experience like getting a hang of like the culture, and then you go to training, and then there's so much to learn in a short period of time, and sometimes you're put on this timeline of 3 months before you can sign up for benefits, so you're kind of being tested. But then from that point on, you really don't get new responsibilities, or you shouldn't get new responsibilities unless it's your 6-month review or your year review. Then that's when the new responsibilities come. So for me, 6 months of doing the same tasks, the same like 20 tasks over and over, becomes very boring, especially because with school I have to learn complicated information in a short period of time, since I'm taking 7-week courses and not 14. So it's a totally different ball game. And work has positives too. Keep that in mind. Like, you clock in, you clock out, you have lunch breaks, sometimes you get benefits or vacation time. So you're not working and just becoming frustrated or tired. There's perks too. And then if you work in healthcare like me, it's very exciting to work in healthcare. But then for me, I often get bored. So I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up. I know a lot of times healthcare providers do become burnt out, especially if you work in critical care or direct care, and you're constantly with the patient and you're constantly attending to their needs. That's extremely exhausting. And that's something that we'll have to dive into in another video, because there's a lot to unpack. But when it comes to being bored at work, I wanted to share something I found online, and I figured it would be very useful. I'm going to leave it down below so you guys can check it out. And I think it applies to me especially, and my age group, the demographic I like to, I guess, channel this channel into. So some areas that it says for symptoms of bored out in this is that you become irritated, you become worthless. I like to describe you're kind of like aloof and disassociated. So like you're going through the motions of work, but you're not like mentally there. I say this a lot if I'm tired or I'm stressed about something else. A lot of times I'll go to the gym and I won't mentally be there, but I'll physically be there. And at the gym, that's very appropriate, but it's not appropriate when you're at work to be aloof, especially when you work in healthcare. You can't be like zoning out. Then one thing it mentions that I thought was really interesting is that women report being more bored at work than men, and millennials are also 2 times more likely to be bored at work. And I agree with this. I think that not only millennials, but Gen Zers and everybody who's younger, just because like for me, I'm so used to seeing content all the time. Like I'm used to watching something new on Netflix and scrolling through social media. And also sometimes I will watch 2 things at the same time. Like I'll watch a workout video and then I'll watch like a recreational video. And my parents, who are in a different generation than me, they get very confused how I can do that because it's just too much information for them. But for me, I feel like I've grown up going through tons of content and watching a lot of content all at the same time. So it makes sense that I'm going to be bored at work, especially if you have 20 tasks under your job description and you're doing all of those tasks every day, 40 hours a week, sometimes more, for 6 months to a year. It just makes sense. So another thing I wanted to mention that I actually read in a personal development book, and it says it in the article, was that employers who are bored at work tend to extend their work to last the whole time. And a lot of times, like as managers, we say that you want to give your employees a specific amount of time for a certain task, because if you give an employee 5 hours to do one task, it's gonna take them 5 hours. But if you give them an hour to do a task, it's gonna take them an hour. A lot of times managers get a little crazy with this one, we all know, because there's times when they'll say like, oh, I want to see 10 patients within a 5-hour window. And it's like, that's not possible, especially in the office that I work in, because of all the restrictions and the turnovers of the room. But if you wanted to ask me like mail 10 letters in half an hour, then that's a task that can be done in a half hour. That's also a task that you could drag out for an hour if you wanted to. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're an employee and you're dragging out your tasks to last the whole day when you know that it doesn't take you that long to do that task, that's bad for your personal development, because you're not really learning anything at work and you've hit this like comfort zone. You could have like a rational reason for doing it, which I'll get into in a little bit, but keep that in mind that you don't really want to be doing that if you're in a career oriented job. If you're working at Starbucks, for example, and you know that's not going to be your career, then it might be a different story. I'm not gonna like condone it, but just use your discretion on that one. It also says here that many people who are bored at work often come in early, leave early, come in late, and call out sick. And this is something I wanted to talk about, why bored out, like I guess the first time I've ever experienced boredom in school. First of all, when I took the SATs, or when I was studying for the SATs, like I've always been like that student who's in the front of the classroom and like attentive and taking notes. But when it came time to take the SATs, I was already taking statistics, and the SATs was like Algebra 1 that I took a while ago at that point. So in my SAT prep courses, I was very bored and I would act out actually, and I got in trouble a lot for acting out. And I don't know. I would go, I'll be honest, I would go to the bath, like acting out. What did I do? I went to the bathroom. I would draw on my notebook, like doodle, and I can't really draw. I would pass notes in class. I didn't have a cell phone in high school, but if I did have a cell phone, I would have gone on it. I would have sat in the back of the class. I would have braided my hair. Actually, there was a point in time I did want to bring nail polish because I was so bored. I wanted to paint my nails. So see what I'm talking about? And I'm not that type of person, but when I was so bored, and I've never experienced that type of boredom in school before. I get bored at the grocery store. I get bored doing laundry. I get bored waiting in line, especially at amusement parks, but never in school, not until that point. And then, same time period, when I was taking statistics, we used to go over that AP exam. I couldn't take it. I was like, how many times do we have to go over this stupid test? How many times do we have to study for it? Like, and then that's when I did these activities. I went above and beyond acting out, and I came in late, and I left early, and I called out sick, or I guess didn't show up, because in high school you can't really call out sick, but I've done it all. And it was all in the same period of time. When I was prepping for the SATs, when I was taking statistics, I was bored, and that was the first time I was ever bored in school. And then now I'm an adult, so I don't do those things, but I definitely think back to the time when I did want to leave early, come in late, just because like it didn't take me 45 minutes to like prep for an AP exam. Like, you know, and it didn't at that point. And then, like, it didn't take me an hour to go over algebra that I already learned, you know? So I didn't think it was necessary to stay the full amount of time if I can do the same amount of work in a shorter period of time. These are some of the struggles that come when you're smart. I'm just going to put it out there. So, some things that it says to make the challenge a little bit easier, because this is a struggle that I'm going to deal with in the future. We're probably all going to deal with it, especially if you have a bachelor's degree and you're in school like me. There's a difference between when you're working and the amount of work and tasks you're given at work versus the amount of tasks and work you're given at school. School is going to be a faster pace, especially if you take 7-week courses. If you take 14-week courses, that's like a faster pace than 6 months to a year at a job too. So, according to this article, one thing it talks about, and I think that this is extremely important, is to figure out what is making you bored and how to develop new responsibilities and tasks. So, I'm going to take a drink. The heat is like right here, so that's why my mouth gets dry sometimes. So for me, when I was dental assisting, I used to just like turn over the rooms and do perio charting, and I didn't take x-rays. So in that example, I asked to do x-rays because I was getting bored like perio charting and just turning over the rooms. Plus, a dental assistant is supposed to take x-rays. That is part of the job description. However, if you work front desk and you want to take on financial responsibility like accounting, that might not be in your job description. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, definitely figure out what's making you bored at work and how you can change that. And then if there's something that you want to do that will make your job a little bit more interesting and it's not in your job description, then find another job. But if it's something that's in your job description or something that you want that's going to be in your job description, if you're trying to work up the ladder, then definitely bring it up and definitely mention it. And honestly, employers, they will be glad to give you more work. They were gladly, very happy to give me the responsibility of taking x-rays without giving me more pay. And that was okay at the time because I had my review in a couple of months and then I was able to like work it in at that point. But if you ever want a new responsibility, just make sure that it's like in your job description or it's something that you want to do moving forward. If it's something totally opposite of your job description, then that's when it's time to look for a new job. You don't want to look for a new job right away if it's something that can be solved easily. The next one it talks about is to meet with your manager and ask for new challenges. This kind of, what the heck? Oh, that was my computer. I apologize. This is something that I mean, like I said before, if it's a task that's in your job description or it's something that you want to work for moving forward, maybe you want to apply to be a supervisor, and in order to be a supervisor, you take on new projects and you want to take on one new project, then that would be appropriate to bring up. But don't do stuff that's not in your job description, especially if you're not going to get paid for it. That's like one of the things where it's like a gray area. You want to take on new tasks, you want to continue to challenge yourself in work, but you want to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. Then, next one talks about increasing your network, and I think that this is extremely important because, like, truth be told, they promote the person who takes the coffee orders. So go ahead and be that person. Go ahead and take coffee orders and do a Dunkin' run. Go ahead and take lunch orders. Go ahead and like mingle with people before and after your shift in different departments, because those are the qualities that get you the raise. Those are the qualities that get you a better position. Coming into work and doing your work and leaving, that's great, but that's not going to help you get a promotion, truth be told. So networking is something that you can do. Like, that's kind of cool if you're able to accomplish like an hour-long task and you can do it in 30 minutes, and then you can go ahead and like network with other people and get some fresh air because you're going to go do a Dunkin' order. If you do take lunch orders and you do take coffee orders, make sure you get money, because like that's not okay if people don't pay you for their order. The next one I think is really important, the corporate social responsibility. So this is something in work that a mission statement at a company is doing, or they should be doing. And if you look into this, you don't really have to like ask or go outside of your department. Most cases you can kind of look within your department at the documents and see what's being done. It's extremely important to make sure that the mission statement of the company or the organization you're working for aligns with your mission statement. So looking at the CSR is extremely important for figuring out if this is a place that you want to stay at. You can also figure out if the people you're working with know or believe in the mission statement of the company, because like you would never believe how many people I've worked with that like don't even know the whole objective of the organization. And then, you know, people higher up on the totem pole, I've noticed, will know, and that might be a good sign to be like, okay, I want to be in the leadership department, or, you know, maybe nobody cares about this job and they're just working to work, which is fine, but maybe that's not you. And then you figure out that that company, the mission statement, the culture, it just doesn't align with your morals and values. So the last one I think that's extremely important is any leadership or professional growth outside of the organization. You can always shadow and network with people within your organization, within your department, or outside of your department, but going to conferences, attending webinars from companies outside is extremely good, and it helps like kind of boost, for me, it helps like boost my energy. I love taking like any continuing education credit, and if the company pays for it, it's even better. Sometimes I get bored at conferences. Like I got really bored at the music therapy conference, but since a lot of stuff is online now, it's easier to pick and choose which session you want to go to, so you don't have to go, like when I went in person, I got bored because I went to a lot of conferences, or I guess like meetings, sessions that I wasn't interested in. But when it was online, I was able to pick and choose what I was interested in, and I didn't have to like hang out all day and just like go to random sessions. I could like do a 2-hour session, or I could be there in front of the computer all day long. So that's something that's good. A lot of people are doing continuing education credits for free too. So if you take a day off to do continuing education or to shadow at another facility, you don't have to take vacation time for it. You can ask and explain that it is a self-development or a professional development day. Sometimes companies will want you to go to a particular conference over other conferences, so keep that in mind. And school, at my school, we're able to go to conferences and be reimbursed for that as well if there's any fees involved with the conference. So those are some things that the article recommended, and I agree with. I think that that's a good way to get out of boredom without going into burnt out, because like that's what we're trying to avoid. We want to be in like a middle ground. Last thing I want to mention, if you're like me and you're a student and you're working, it's okay to be bored. It really is. I mean, think about it. If you're an education major and you're working at McDonald's, are you going to be working at McDonald's the rest of your life? Like, is that a career? No, because you're getting a degree in education. Education, we would assume, would be your career. So it's okay if you're in that position where you work at McDonald's during the day and then you have classes at night, or you have classes during the day and then you work at night. It's okay to be bored if you were working at a job like McDonald's, because first of all, you probably have schoolwork to do when you get home, and second of all, it's not your career. It's just to make money. And that's extremely important, and that's something I had to come to terms with, that it's okay to work a job that's boring. It's okay for work to be continual, and for work to be the same thing day in and day out. It's okay, because here you are going home and actually, going to school. If you're, into exercising and like you're trying to do a bodybuilding competition, then like it's okay in that situation too for work to be boring, because your main focus is somewhere else and it's somewhere outside of work. And I think that that's extremely important, that it's okay to be bored at your job if you're working towards something else after hours, if it's just temporary, if it's not a career. If it's a career, then that's a different story, because we want to get you to where you need to be. We want you to strive and feel energized and motivated and take on new challenges and try to get those promotions. If it's not a career, then it's okay for it to be a little slow. You just don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to come in late. You don't want to leave early. You don't want to call out sick. You don't want to chew gum or paint your nails or doodle like I did in the SAT class. You don't want to get irritated or frustrated when people ask you to do tasks like I did in my SAT course. So keep that in mind, that it's good to take on challenges, regardless of whether it's a temporary job or it's a career. Just make sure that you limit yourself and know that it is okay to be bored sometimes. It is. It comes with the territory. And I guess it's a good thing. It's okay for work to be on the slower side at times, because you get benefits in other ways. I hope this helped, and I hope you all are doing well. I will talk to you guys later. Bye!